Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that takes stacks of research, articles, sources, and really digs in to pull out the most crucial insights for you.
That's the goal.
And today, wow, we are plunging into a world where beauty isn't just skin deep. It's a curse, almost, where dark packs have these really horrifying consequences.
Right.
And your soul, your very soul, becomes this visible record of everything you've done wrong. I mean, have you ever really stopped to think, what would you give up for eternal youth? To live a life where time, maybe even your own bad choices, just don't leave a mark on you. Imagine that bargain. You get to indulge, do whatever you want, but the price, well, it's devastating, and something else pays it.
That is such a powerful, unsettling idea, isn't it? And it's right there, smack bang in the middle of what we're diving into today. We are dissecting Oscar Wilde's only novel, the perpetually fascinating, I think, The Picture of Dorian Gray.
A classic.
Absolutely. Published back in 1890. And look, this book didn't just, get readers talking. It caused an absolute firestorm. It shocked Victorian society to its core and basically guaranteed its place as this literary lightning rod.
Yeah, you can imagine.
So our mission today, it's kind of got a few layers. First, we need to go back, understand the origins of this really controversial classic and the brilliant, complicated mind behind it, Oscar Wilde himself.
Right, the man, the myth.
Exactly. Then we're going deep into the dark heart of the story itself, that chilling pact Dorian makes, what it really means, the grotesque implications.
Okay.
And finally, we'll pull it forward. Connect these timeless, often pretty uncomfortable themes to our world now. Why does this story still feel like it holds up a mirror to us, over a century later?
That's the key question, isn't it?
It is. So this deep dive, it's really designed to give you a full, insightful shortcut to understanding a book that's still just as powerful, just as challenging today as it was back then.
And it really was impactful. I mean, this wasn't just another book dropping into the literary scene of the time. It set off an unprecedented scandal in Victorian England.
A huge scandal.
Now, people often categorize it as gothic horror literature, and yeah, it definitely has those elements, the supernatural vibe, the macabre stuff, that sense of creeping dread. It's all there.
For sure, the atmosphere is thick.
But the actual controversy, the outrage that just engulfed Dorian Gray, it went way beyond genre labels. It wasn't just about spooky elements.
No, not at all.
It was fueled by the ideas, these incredibly audacious ideas packed inside his pages. It was a direct, kind of unblinking challenge to the really entrenched social and moral rules of the time.
And that's what got people really riled up, the ideas.
Exactly. But here's the paradox, right? It was precisely that scandalous reception that kind of cemented its lasting fascination. It's a book that makes you look, really look, even when what you see is deeply uncomfortable.
It draws you in, doesn't it? Even knowing it's going to disturb you.
So, to really get a handle on the impact of Dorian Gray, we absolutely have to start with the person who created him, the extraordinary figure of Oscar Wilde.
You really can't separate the art from the artist here, can you?
Not with Wilde.
Oh, right.
So, born Oscar Fingal O'Flaherty Wills Wilde, quite a name, in Dublin, October 16th, 1854. And he was, in just about every way, as captivating a character as any he put on paper.
Oh, absolutely. Larger than life.
A man with this towering intellect, famous for his flamboyant clothes, the velvet jackets and knee breeches.
And a green carnation.
Right, and an undisputed master of conversation. Every word seemed to just sparkle with wit. He very carefully built this public persona that became almost inseparable from his art. He was the ultimate dandy, the judge of taste, the guy always pushing society's buttons with this, knowing smile.
And that self-creation, that deliberate crafting of his own legend, you saw it right from the start. His brilliance was obvious even in his early years at Trinity College, Dublin. He stood out immediately, not just academically, but with this emerging wit that just set him apart.
Already sharp, even then.
Oh, yeah. Then he went on to Magdalen College, Oxford, and that was really the crucible, where his personal charm, his sharp mind, his philosophical ideas really started to bloom. He quickly got this reputation, not just as a top scholar, but as this dazzling personality, someone who just naturally commanded attention, whose opinions people waited to hear.
The center of attention.
Definitely. He really embodied that whole idea of l'art pour art for art's sake, not just in what he wrote, but in how he lived his life.
His wit was just legendary.
Yeah.
And it's hard to picture anyone pulling off that kind of self-assurance with such, well, elegant audacity. I always think of that famous story from his 1882 American tour.
Ah, the Customs Declaration.
Exactly. It just sums him up perfectly. Arrives at New York Customs, they ask if he has anything to declare, and he hits them with, "I have nothing to declare except my genius."
Chuckles.
Yeah.
It's brilliant, and it's more than just a witty line, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
his whole philosophy boiled down.
Totally.
It's telling the world my real value, my contribution. It's not in stuff I own, it's in my mind, my creativity, how I see things. It captures his essence, that audacious self-belief. It established him not just as a writer, but as this cultural force who fully believed in his own exceptionalism and wasn't shy about saying so.
No false modesty there.
None at all. And this bold, almost defiant confidence, it defined his public life and, seeped into his work too. He became known for those epigrams, those sharp, often paradoxical little sayings that pack a punch.
Like zingers with depth.
Exactly. A style he definitely put into his characters' mouths.
Now, it's crucial to remember, while we're focusing on his only novel today, Wilde's main fame, and honestly most of his artistic work, was for the stage.
Right. He was primarily a playwright.
His iconic plays, things like Lady Windermere's Fan, A Woman of No Importance, An Ideal Husband, they're still performed constantly today.
Staples of the repertoire.
Yeah, celebrated for that sparkling, cynical dialogue, this sharp social commentary, that biting wit that just skewers Victorian hypocrisy so elegantly.
And yet, despite that incredibly successful, celebrated career as a playwright, it's the Picture of Dorian Gray, his one shot at a novel.
His only one.
His only one. That holds this almost monumental impact in literature. The fact that this novel, this single book in the genre for him, has achieved such lasting fame, such critical attention. It stands right alongside the huge bodies of work from career novelists. That tells you something about its power.
It really does. Its originality, its cultural resonance, it's immense.
It's a unique achievement. It proved he wasn't just a brilliant playwright, but also this daring, deeply insightful prose writer, willing to go into the really dark corners of the human mind.
And as we mentioned earlier, this novel wasn't just reviewed. It caused a real uproar.
Yeah.
A significant public outcry right when it came out, first serialized, then published in Victorian England.
It hit a nerve big time.
Wilde basically dared to challenge head-on the really deeply ingrained social and moral rules of the day. And you can imagine in an era obsessed with strict conduct and, outward respectability.
Yeah, that didn't go down well.
Not at all. Met with considerable outrage.
And a lot of that fury came from the novel's bold engagement with themes that were, for that time, really groundbreaking, often just taboo.
Like what specifically?
Well, it dove right into the complexities of aging, the sort of relentless chase for hedonistic pleasure, the corrosive effect of secret crimes, and ultimately, the inescapable nature of punishment. These weren't just plot points, they were subjects for serious moral debate, and Wilde just tackled them head-on, no holding back. He pushed the boundaries of what was acceptable, even discussable in literature back then.
He wasn't just telling a story, he was poking the bear.
Definitely. And he twisted those traditional Gothic tropes, too. The real horror wasn't some ghost in a castle, it was inside Dorian and his decaying soul. That was deeply unsettling for Victorian readers.
And here's where the story gets even darker, right? It goes beyond just literary criticism. While the book uses those Gothic elements, the creepy portrait, the locked room, the dread, the controversy wasn't really about the spooky stuff.
No, the core of it was the ideas.
Exactly. It wasn't just a scary story. It felt like an attack on the very fabric of society, on morality as they understood it.
Precisely. And tragically, this perceived immorality in the book got tangled up with Wilde's own personal life in the most devastating way.
The trial.
Yes. His conviction for gross indecency, basically for being gay, became inextricably linked with how people saw his work. The supposed decadence of Dorian Gray, its exploration of forbidden pleasures, its defiance of conventional morals, that was actually used against him in court.
They literally use his art as evidence.
They did. It created this awful feedback loop. The art condemns the artist. It directly contributed to his downfall, his ruin, his exile. The themes in the novel Hidden Sin, the public mask, they resonated chillingly with the accusations against him. It was this tragic, almost too perfect merging of art and life.
It's just one of the saddest stories in literary history.
Yeah.
The price he paid for just being himself and daring to write about challenging ideas.
Yeah.
It's staggering.
Unthinkable, really.
But even from prison, a place of incredible suffering, his genius couldn't be contained. He kept writing. Most famously, De Profundis, that incredibly raw, introspective letter about his suffering.
A masterpiece born of pain.
And the Ballad of Reading Jail, that powerful, haunting poem about the brutality of the prison system. These later works, they're absolute proof that his genius wasn't just about his public persona or destroyed by his circumstances. It transcended all that. It spoke to something universal about human endurance and injustice.
Beautifully put. And to really get Wilde's innovative, provocative approach in Dorian Gray, you have to understand his core philosophy, a philosophy he laid out right there at the beginning in the novel's preface.
The Aesthetic Manifesto.
Exactly. He positioned himself not just as a storyteller, but as a master of aesthetics, a champion of the aesthetic movement. This movement, big in the late 19th century, basically argued that art should exist purely for its own sake, art for art's sake, for beauty alone, completely independent of any moral, political, or teaching purpose.
So art doesn't have to do anything.
According to Wilde, no. He famously declared the aim of art is to reveal art and conceal the artist.
That's a really profound statement, especially then, suggesting the meaning is in the work itself, separate from the creator's life or morals.
Precisely. It frees art from needing to instruct, and he pushed it even further. He declared, and this really shocked Victorian sensibilities, there is no such thing as a moral or an immoral book. Books are well-written or badly written. That is all.
Wow. Just quality of execution. That's it.
That was a direct challenge to the whole Victorian idea of art, where literature was often expected to serve a moral purpose, guide readers to be good. By saying art's only value is its aesthetic quality, Wilde wasn't just making a critical point. He was setting the whole philosophical stage for understanding Dorian's dilemmas.
It immediately signals this isn't going to be a simple morality tale.
Exactly. It signals that this novel wants to make you think, to question assumptions, explore complexities, not just reinforce the status quo. It tells you, the reader, buckle up, this journey won't be straightforward.
It's like an opening challenge, isn't it? Promising a dive into human desire, beauty, the cost of ambition. More of a philosophical thriller than just a horror story.
Perfectly described.
Okay, so with Wilde's bold philosophy in mind, let's get into the chilling core of the novel. The Dark Pact, the haunting portrait, Dorian's terrifying moral freefall. This is where beauty becomes a burden and the soul gets, well, reflected.
Right. At its absolute heart, the story pivots on this classic Faustian bargain made by the young, incredibly beautiful Dorian Gray.
The deal with the devil, essentially.
Pretty much. This dark, desperate pact grants him this unsettling kind of immortality. He gets to live a life of pure sin, unchecked pleasure, total self-indulgence, without his body showing any signs of aging or the effects of his actions.
Sounds like the ultimate fantasy, doesn't it? Stay young, stay beautiful, ignore the consequences.
Who wouldn't want that on some level? But as these stories always warn us,
there's always a catch.
There's always a price. And for Dorian Gray, that price isn't just awful, it's ingeniously tied to that specific artwork. His portrait, painted by the devoted artist Basil Hallward.
The painting takes the hit.
Exactly. While Dorian walks around looking pristine, radiating this almost angelic beauty, the painting itself starts to age, to twist, to physically show every cruel, depraved, selfish thing he does. It slowly, horribly morphs into this grotesque, living mirror of his inner moral rot.
So the portrait becomes his visible conscience.
That's a great way to put it. A horrifying, silent witness to his spiritual corruption. It's literally his soul on display, a canvas recording every stain, every scar his own body miraculously avoids.
Which lets Wilde explore that gap between appearance and reality.
Absolutely. It forces us to confront the hypocrisy in a society that judges only by surfaces. And it's through the characters, their interactions, that this chilling reflection on aging, pleasure, crime, punishment really comes alive.
Okay, let's start with Dorian himself. When we first meet him through Basil Hallward's eyes.
Basil, the artist.
Yeah. He sees Dorian as this young man of truly unusual beauty. Basil thinks he has all the candor and passionate purity of youth, like he's totally untouched by the stain of the world's vileness.
Basil is utterly captivated. He sees Dorian as more than just a model. He's the bodily form of the ideal, his perfect muse, the essence of beauty and inspiration made flesh for his heart.
Like perfection personified.
Sir Basil, yes. But then, into this perfect little artistic world, slithers Lord Henry Wotton.
Lord Henry, the tempter.
The ultimate tempter. Dorian himself later says, Lord Henry was the one who breathed into me a mad desire to know everything about life, a potent, almost venomous influence.
So what's Lord Henry's deal?
He's the absolute picture of cynical wit and pure hedonism, a master of these provocative ideas, which he delivers with seductive charm and intellectual flair, basically picking apart traditional morality piece by piece.
Give me an example.
Well, he says things like, all influence is immoral, arguing that influencing someone steals their true self.
Clever twist.
Or that the aim of life is self-development, subtly suggesting any experience, no matter how questionable, helps you grow.
Okay, I see where this is going.
And the most famous one, the one that really hooks Dorian, the only way to get rid of a temptation is to yield to it.
Wow. Just give in.
Just give in. And these words, delivered so charmingly, they're like slow poison to Dorian's innocent soul. He absorbs them, starts seeing the world himself in this new, dangerously freeing way.
And Lord Henry pushes the beauty angle hard too, right?
Oh, yeah. He convinces Dorian that beauty is a form of genius and that youth is the one thing worth having. It's a philosophy that champions the superficial, instant gratification sensation above all else. It just disarms Dorian's conscience.
He's young, impressionable.
Exactly. Naive, hungry for knowledge. He falls completely under Lord Henry's spell, starting that journey that will utterly corrupt him.
So the pact itself, how does that happen?
It's this key moment, the point of no return. Dorian sees the finished portrait, this perfect image of his youth. And suddenly, he's hit with the horror that he will age, while the painting stays perfect.
The realization hits him hard.
Viscerally, he cries out in this moment of raw despair, if it were only the other way. If I could be always young and the picture grow old, for that I would give everything. Yes, there's nothing in the whole world I would not give. I would give my soul.
Just blurts it out.
Almost unthinking, but it seals the deal. The wish is instantly granted, binding his fate to that canvas. The portrait transforms from just art into this living record of his bargain.
It's chilling how casually he says it. I would give my soul. Speaks volumes about his self-centeredness, that fear of decay.
Deeply narcissistic, yeah. And the consequences hit almost immediately with Sybil Vane.
The actress.
The young, incredibly talented actress. Dorian falls for her, captivated by her artistry, how she becomes different people on stage. For Sybil, initially, the theater is her reality. It's where she's most alive.
Until she meets Dorian.
Right. She falls in love for real, deeply, and this genuine real-life emotion completely overshadows the illusions of the stage. Her newfound reality is so overwhelming, it paradoxically makes her lose her ability to act.
Because real feelings trump pretend ones.
Exactly. She can't convincingly fake emotions anymore because she's feeling real ones. She tells Dorian this, that he's shown her what reality is. But for Dorian...
Love the actress, not the person.
Precisely. Her artistic failure, this perceived imperfection, destroys his idealized aesthetic love for her art. He cruelly rejects her, tells her, Sybil has killed my love, and that moment, that's the first visible mark on the painting.
Just brutal. And Sybil's suicide follows that rejection. That's Dorian's first real moral test, isn't it?
First real crossroads, and it's exactly where the corruption starts showing on the canvas. He feels a flicker of guilt initially, sees this new cruelty in the portrait's expression.
The Lord Henry steps in.
Like clockwork. The dark angel. He twists the narrative, convinces Dorian to see Sybil's death not as something he caused, but as one of the great romantic tragedies of our age, just a wonderful ending to a wonderful play.
Turning a tragedy into art.
Exactly. This cynical aesthetic reframing distances Dorian from remorse.
Yeah.
It cements his indifference. And with every rationalization, he slides further down that self-serving path.
And from then on, the portrait just gets worse.
It becomes this silent, constant witness to his degeneration. While Dorian walks through society looking perfect, unspotted, and unstained, charming everyone,
Untouchable.
the painting secretly starts reflecting the truth. Features of cruelty and hypocrisy begin to mark it subtly at first, then more obviously, growing more pronounced with every sin, every betrayal.
The contrast must be agonizing for him.
It becomes this stark, terrifying psychological torture. The flawless man in public, the hideous canvas hidden away, it's a powerful symbol of the soul's slow, horrifying death.
And it leads to the absolute low point, the murder of Basil Hallward.
The horrifying climax of his depravity, absolutely. Basil, the earnest artist who painted it, the one who still sees the good in Dorian, tries to confront him, make him see the truth, save him.
The voice of conscience.
And Dorian silences it. Brutally. The murder scene is visceral, showing his complete surrender to evil, burying the truth the portrait represents.
And after that, he forces Alan Campbell.
The scientist, yeah. A former friend, Dorian blackmails him, forces him to use chemicals to completely destroy Basil's body. no trace left.
Which shows his ruthless, calculating side.
Totally. It highlights his capacity for extreme violence, but also his cunning intelligence, his ability to manipulate others to cover his tracks, insulate himself from consequences. His intellectual depravity matches his moral decay.
It's a complete descent, hidden behind that beautiful mask. And what's so shocking is how he gets away with it, moving through high society, charming people, spreading corruption almost invisibly.
He seems immune, thriving because of his looks, but that portrait, that's his secret, his Achilles heel, the constant reminder, the true condemnation haunting him through the years.
It really is a psychological horror story, isn't it? The terror isn't ghosts, it's watching a soul rot.
That's the genius of it. Wilde makes this internal damnation chillingly believable through the portrait, a masterful study in moral destruction.
Welcome back. So in this final segment, let's dig into why the Picture of Dorian Gray still feels so relevant. Its cultural impact, what it tells us about art, morality, and, well, us. Even over a century later, it really holds up a clear mirror.
It absolutely does. And one of Wilde's most provocative ideas, woven right into the book's fabric, is that philosophy of art for art's sake.
Right, we touched on that. His claims that all art is quite useless and no artist has ethical sympathies.
These weren't just throwaway lines to shock people. They were radical challenges to how Victorians thought about art and morality, a direct slap in the face, really.
Especially because back then, art was supposed to teach you something, right? Improve society, show you how to be virtuous.
Exactly. It was seen as a tool for moral uplift. But Wilde comes along and says, no, beauty is the only point. Art exists for its own aesthetic value. Forget moral obligations or lessons.
But here's the twist, the paradox.
The big one. While Wilde, the artist, said art is morally useless, his own creation, Dorian Gray, powerfully demonstrates the absolute dangers of living purely for aesthetic pleasure, completely cut off from moral considerations.
So the book itself becomes a moral argument.
In a way, yes. Dorian embraces that art for art's sake philosophy to its most extreme destructive end, and he becomes this kind of monster precisely because he puts beauty and sensation above everything, ignoring any ethical framework. So the novel, ironically, becomes this searing moral warning against the very lifestyle it seems to describe.
That is brilliant. And the portrait itself, the piece of art, becomes the ultimate moral force in his life, a conscience he can't escape.
Exactly. It's the visual record of every sin, forcing him to confront the ugliness he creates, his inescapable psychological torment.
Yeah. And the book's exploration of unrestrained pleasure, secret sins, that moral decay. It was so shocking it got labeled poisonous right away by critics.
Poisonous, yeah. Which connects directly back to Lord Henry's subtle poisonous theories, those insidious ideas that unraveled Dorian's morals.
And there's that mysterious book Lord Henry gives him.
Ah, yes, the Yellow Book. Often thought to be Huysman's Arbor or Against Nature, the novel describes it as the strangest book Dorian had ever read.
And pushes him further down the path.
Profoundly. It shapes his worldview, fuels that relentless, insatiable hunt for new and exquisite sensations and pleasures, encouraging him to explore even the darkest, most forbidden experiences. He tries to turn his own life into a kind of perverse artwork.
And that pursuit of sensation, chasing gratification, keeping up appearances at any cost, it feels incredibly modern, doesn't it?
Alarmingly so. You think about our society's obsession with youth, with physical appearance sometimes enhanced surgically or digitally.
Filters everywhere.
Right. Or the constant chase for instant gratification through tech, social media, often losing real connection or ignoring long-term consequences. It's a clear echo. Wilde himself said, "It is the spectator and not life that art really mirrors."
Ooh, that's sharp. He's challenging us, the audience, to see ourselves in it.
Exactly. Look at yourselves. Look at society reflected here. Because Dorian, despite his utterly corrupt life, manages to keep up this outer purity, this facade that totally fools society.
He gets away with it. Admired, even celebrated by the very people he harms or corrupts, moves through high society untouched.
It's astonishing, isn't it? His beauty and charm are this perfect shield.
Which speaks to Wilde's social critique.
A really sharp and lasting one. He nailed it with that observation. Civilized society is never very ready to believe anything to the detriment of those who are both rich and fascinating.
That still rings true.
Painfully true, right? It's a brilliant commentary on how beauty, charm, wealth, celebrity can just mask deep corruption, create this bubble of immunity. That critique still lands today, maybe even more so in our image-obsessed age.
And it all leads to that final, terrifying end for Dorian.
Yeah.
his desperate attempt to destroy the portrait.
Which he now sees as proof of his crimes, his visible conscience.
It's his last act of rebellion, trying to wipe the slate clean.
His final, futile attempt. He thinks by destroying it, he can escape, purify himself through denial. One last desperate bid for innocence.
But it backfires spectacularly.
It's the devastating climax of his tragedy. In trying to kill his own soul, because that's what the portrait is, the physical form of his spirit, he ends up, with perfect, chilling irony, destroying himself.
Describe that ending again. It's so shocking.
The servants hear this terrible cry, break into the locked room, and there's the portrait, perfectly restored, beautiful, radiating youth and innocence, just as Basil painted it. But on the floor, an unrecognizable corpse. An old, withered, wrinkled, loathsome man with a knife in his heart. It's the ultimate ironic punishment. The decay he avoided his whole life catches up in that final moment, revealing his true self.
Wow. It's such a powerful, unforgettable ending. A stark reminder, like Wilde shows us, that a life without limits, chasing only pleasure, seeming to escape consequences, it inevitably leads to ruin.
There's always a price, even if it's your own corrupted soul finally demanding payment. And that's the novel's legacy, isn't it? Not just the great story, but the deep aesthetic questions, the unsettling moral paradoxes. It's still this enduring invitation to reflect on human nature, beauty, morality, what a life well lived even means. It makes us confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves and our world.
Absolutely. And so that brings us towards the end of another deep dive, The Picture of Dorian Gray. It really forces you to wrestle with your own ideas about beauty, morality, temptation, the choices we make.
It's compelling, unsettling, but always revealing. A true look into the darker corners of the human heart.
Indeed. It's a book that honestly feels as relevant now as it did back then.
Yeah.
A piece of art that keeps challenging, enchanting, sparking new thoughts every time you read it.
It really does. So if you haven't read it yet, or maybe it's been a while, we absolutely encourage you to dive in or maybe revisit it. It definitely opens up new ways of thinking.
Where can people find it?
Good question. You can find the complete book, often in multiple languages too, over at infolivros.org. That's infolivros.org.
infolivros.org.
Got it. For English versions specifically, try infobooks.org. Spanish is infolibros.org, and French is infolivros.org. Easy to find.
Great resource. And if you enjoyed hearing about Oscar Wilde today, or you're just curious about his other amazing work, you can find more of his books in PDF format there at infolivros.org too.
Definitely check out his plays.
For sure. And while you're there, take a look around their huge digital library. They've got over 3,500 free books. It's an incredible treasure trove for anyone who loves to read.
You really shouldn't miss that. And to make sure you don't miss our future deep dives, where we'll keep digging into more fascinating topics and sources like this one.
Please subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe to the deep dive on your favorite podcast platform.
We genuinely love connecting with you all. Your reviews, your comments, they really do mean a lot to us. We love reading your thoughts and hearing what you think about the things we cover.
Absolutely. It makes it all worthwhile.
It's been a real pleasure dissecting this profound and enduring story with you today.
The intellectual journey was fantastic. And to all of you listening, thank you so much for joining us on this exploration into one of literature's most compelling and, unsettling tales.
As you head back into your day, maybe take a moment to think about this. What part of ourselves do we try to hide from the world? What might be the true, unseen portrait of our own lives? The one maybe only we can really see.
Ooh, good question.
Yeah.
And maybe, what price are we really willing to pay for the things we desire most? Until the next deep dive, keep learning and keep questioning.